LBR LBO Infrastructure Summit 2015, making Colombo a globally competitive city.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure and honor to invite Honorable Minister of Megapolis and Western Region Development, Patali Champika Ranawaka, to deliver his speech. May I invite Ranjan Hulagala to accompany Honorable Minister.
Very good evening to you all, ladies and gentlemen. I deem it a great honor to be standing here among us you this evening at the inauguration of this very important event, LBR LBO Infrastructure Summit 2015. I must indeed congratulate the organizers not only for this timely initiative to create a high-level professional and intellectual dialogue on infrastructure development, but also for a passionate and inspirational team making Colombo a global competitive city. Making Colombo a global competitive city is a common passion that all of us share. It is a common vision that all of us strive to realize sooner than later, which incidentally also happened to constitute a major part of the mandate of the ministerial portfolio that I assumed a couple of months ago. I believe it is pertinent to begin this discussion with the perspective of historical evolution and expansion of the city to what is today. As you all know, despite the history of the city dating back half a millennium to the time of Portuguese occupation of the maritime district of Sri Lanka, the history of the development and expansion plan for the modern city of Colombo begins in 1921. It was the year 1921 the first ever formal urban development plan for the city of Colombo was drawn up by the famous town planner Patali Champika, who was commissioned for the purpose of the then colonial government of Ceylon. Of course, prior to this assignment, Patali Champika had actually accomplished design in several cities in then British India. Patrick's theme for Colombo was to develop it as a garden city. That's his concept. The next significant planning efforts comes in 1948 in the form of Patrick Abercrombie plan, followed by another planning effort 30 years later in the form of UNDP's Colombo Master Plan project of 1978. The next development plan, formulated in 1985 under the JRJ government, recognized for the first time the long-term unsustainability of the monocentric development of Sri Lanka. This is, as we know, resulted in administrative capital being shifted outwards to Sri Jawadanapura, with the parliament and substantial part of the government ministries and departments moving in there. The next plan, formulated in 1998, was known as Colombo Metropolitan Plan, and proposals for the inner and outer circular roads were brought in there. It was in 2002 that the plan for development of the entire Western province as a megapolis region was brought in for the first time by the then Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. Ladies and gentlemen, the very proposition of making Colombo a globally competitive city indeed has to be now viewed from broader perspective. From the perspective of a wider Western megapolis encompassing the entire Western province centered around Colombo. Why has this become necessity? Why has become the most prudent approach to the urban development in the western region of the country? This question has to be answered from perspective of economic prosperity, social justice, environmental sustainability, and cultural heritage. On the economic front, Sri Lanka's long stagnation in the middle income territory, or rather precisely in the low middle income stratum, has long underscored the need for development of a large geographic region with intense economic activity. The intensity of the economic activity of a geographic territory is measured by what is known as economic density, which is simply the value of aggregate economic output generated per 1 square kilometer in the region. In this scale of economic density, our capital city Colombo currently ranks well below that of Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, and some of the Indian cities as well. A region of intense economic activity is a must for a leverage in many economic potentialities that we possess as a nation. For example, in realizing the full potential of our geographical location, in the form of maritime hub or as an education hub. Such a region would be an ideal platform for translating the benefits of demographic dividend that we are enjoying at present from 1992 into a productive economic capacity. And such a megapolis or metropolis would be a best position to rapidly build upon the benefits of reasonably good level of education and health services, electricity supply, and ICT infrastructure that the country is now enjoying. From an economic standpoint, this could be the most prudent way around the current inefficiencies in our macroeconomic environment, which is characterized by such adverse factors as massive deficit in internal trade. Economic activity concentrated at a higher density in a wider geographic region in the form of a megapolis indeed appears the most prudent approach in realizing the dream of a high-income country status by 2030, reaching a per capita GDP of at least US $12,000 through an innovation-driven, knowledge-based economy. Secondly, ladies and gentlemen, on the social justice front, no one can afford to forget the fact that we are a nation with unfortunate memories of at least two major uprisings triggered by absence of social justice. While some sentienties continue to force a major development challenge, disparity in income distribution as reflected by such measures of Gini coefficient remain much to be desired. While we plan to implement a rigorous and comprehensive program not only for just relocation of some dwellers, but also ensure that effective socio-economic integration to the society at large. We also plan to take adequate measure to prevent migration of some section of the middle class out of the country. The third front of our development effort is the environmental front. Although the environmental sustainability constitutes one of the three major pillars of sustainable development alongside economic development and social equity, environmental aspect of development has never been given due consideration in any of the previous plans of urban development in Colombo and suburbs. As much as 30% of the land extent of the area is low-lying here in Western Province and serves as a natural basin for holding excess water during the heavy rains, thereby protecting the area from fluvial floods. All construction activities have to be undertaken making adequate measures for protection as well as proper management of these low-lying areas. The concept of green city will be adopted as the guiding model in the environmental aspect, thereby effectively complying with the measures to mitigate global warming and climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth front of development would be that of ensuring adequate and comprehensive measures for preservation of cultural heritage in the area. All judicious measures will be put in place in order to ensure that the likes of those harmful effects that has been taken place on the cultural heritage sites in the urban development activities carried out at Kandy and Anuradhapura, for example, will be totally avoided. As we know, intertwined with the cultural heritage is the spiritual well-being of the people. While measures to develop the physical, social, and institutional infrastructure of the megapolis are undertaken, effective measures should be taken to make the environment conducive for engaging religious activities for spiritual well-being as well. Ladies and gentlemen, that was about the first phase of our plan. Under the second place, our main emphasis will be on resolution of the issues brought about by ad hoc haphazard urbanization. Something that is very pertinent here is the actual percentage of urban population of the country. According to one standard, we stand around 48% as against the popularly quoted figure of 18%. The figure 18% is in fact the total residing within municipal and urban council limits, which does not include many Pradesi Sabha areas which are actually urban in fact, although administratively not so. For example, Pradesi Sabha township in Homagama, Beruwala, Waligama, etc. are not treated as urban. There is a multitude of imminent issues to resolve, ranging from livelihood for slum dwellers, schools for children, and issues pertaining to the health services, and of course the inefficiency of the transport sector that poses a major impediment to economic growth. Besides this, we will launch a comprehensive program to resolve the housing issue, which in the absence of a proper land policy has resulted in houses being built in every possible block of land removing coconut and other plantation, and landfilling every possible block of paddy field in the process. Finally, coming to digital infrastructure, I wish to mention that state-of-art ICT infrastructure will not only be fully developed but also be optimally utilized in all spheres of activity within the megapolis. In fact, the concept of smart city will be our guiding model and the direction in this regard. According to one of the better descriptions of smart city, it has triple I's: instrumented, intelligent, and interconnected. So in conclusion, my appeal to this august gathering at this important occasion of inauguration of LBR LBO Infrastructure Summit 2015 is, let us join hands as one single family in realizing not the probable dream but the achievable reality of an economically prosperous, socially equitable, environmentally green, and functionally smart Western megapolis, which will certainly be the heart of well-developed future Sri Lanka. I thank you.
LBR LBO Infrastructure Summit 2015, making Colombo a globally competitive city.